The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
Welcome back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with my panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Mark Bound. Today we will be answering listener emails, and we have a question from Alexis, who lives in San Diego, California. And Alexis asks, there is little doubt your panel feels the Republican Party and administration are a shambles. This may be true, yet recent polls show declining voter confidence in the Democratic Party as well. That is true. First, what do you all think the Democrats need to do to reverse this trend? And second, last week you all said that the new Musk Party would have no impact. Do these new polling trends make you reconsider that position?
So I wouldn't say that we think that the Republican Party is in shambles. Would you?
No.
I'm sure the Republican Party is doing just fine. It's just a party of assholes.
I mean, I don't think there is a party. I would call it a cult. I mean, there really is no party as far as I understand a political party.
Not that we would recognize.
No, it's
past,
more like an oh hail and you know, get down on your face on the ground and
I mean, they're not. It's not conservative. Like it used to be conservative versus liberal. Now it's not conservative. There's nothing conservative about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the biggest socialist president who's ever existed. You would have to go back to FDR to see a more socialist president than Trump. He subsidizes industries that he thinks he wants to keep. He helps out people that he's hurting in areas that he wants to help. Look, I mean, even the stuff that he's done with Eric Adams, right? If you help me, I will not prosecute you, which is like antithetical to America. So they're doing quite well, but they're doing a lot of stuff that is, the worst stuff we've ever seen in our lives. And, it's not America. It's not small d democratic. We're not a republic anymore. There's one guy calling the shots, and, the Supreme Court and Congress, certainly Republicans in Congress, are going along with it. I don't know what their motivation is other than fear of Trump, right? But it seems to be like the big thing that motivates them. But the Republican Party is doing just fine. It's just not the Republican Party anymore. It's it's the Trump Party. It's not. There's no Reagan Republicans or I don't even think there are Barry Goldwater Republicans out there anymore. This is not recognizable.
But if you wanted to call it, I mean, the traditional Republican Party for whoever is left, like a Liz Cheney or somebody like that, then from that perspective, I would say the Republican Party is in shambles because there's not anything left except individuals who really
I'm not missing Liz Cheney either, though, Brooke. Are you?
Huh?
I'm not missing the Liz Cheneys of the world.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I am, but as far as answering the listener's question, there is no, I mean, there is no longer a recognizable conservative party that I can identify. There's a cohesive, well, maybe not a cohesive cult, but there's a cult, but there's nothing, the traditional conservative Republican Party is in shambles. I would say it's in such that it's been so decimated it doesn't exist anymore. So
as far as the Democrats are concerned, there's a divide, probably a little bit more subtle, I'm guessing, than in the Republican Party, between people who identify themselves as being more progressive, led by Bernie Sanders and I guess AOC and some other people, and then the traditional Democrats who might include blue dog Democrats who are, more conservative and so on. And then I think really what the Democratic Party has to get away from is putting their thumb on the scale all the time, demanding that voters only have the choices that the party itself wants. And Barack Obama was able to overcome Hillary Clinton in 2008, but Hillary Clinton came storming back, and there was no real race there. I would have much preferred to have seen a Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump in 2016, because there's a real contrast there, and here's one guy who never tells lies, who you can find video of every dumb thing America's done in the past 50 years. There's video of Bernie Sanders screaming about it. And, he could provide real direction for America to go in a place that would help most Americans, rather than the very elite few that the Republican Party seems to cater to all the time. The Democratic Party, of which, I am shamefully, because I want to vote in primaries, in Connecticut, have to be a part of, but I really don't like them at all. I don't like the party leaders. I don't like the party chairman. I didn't like them back then. I don't like them anymore now. That seems to be like, just get out of the way and let the voters decide, and stop putting your thumb on the scale for whoever you think needs to be president. We don't need to follow the America's first African American president with America's first woman president. Like those battles need to stop being fought by the Democratic Party. The battle for progressivism needs to be fought, but it doesn't need to include hating Zionism, or it doesn't need to include, talking about transgender people. We should protect transgender people. It's a very small part of the conversation of the population, but they should be protected. We should protect them. There's plenty of room in America for everybody, but we don't have to make it a national obsession. And whereas I would argue that it's the Republican Party that brings them up all the time, not the Democratic Party, we continue to get drawn into these battles, and these battles are not worth fighting. So I would say that the Democratic Party needs to get back to finding good candidates to run. I can't tell you who it is. I don't know, but have a primary in 2027, I guess, and let there be leaders emerging in every state that you can in 2026. Try to get good candidates to run against these whack jobs that they can run against. Put the money, raise money, and put it there. This should not be impossible for the Democratic Party to do. But it's there seems to be a lot of hand wringing, which I don't think is necessarily helpful, or even something they should be engaging in. Trump duped a lot of people. He continues to do that. Hopefully people are beginning to catch on, but it's taken way too long.
Yeah, and I would agree with Scott. I wouldn't say that the Republican Party is in a shambles. Now, the definition of shambles does it look anything like anything that we would have recognized from the past in our growing up? Okay, you could call it a shambles, but it's just different. It is different than what we remember. It is different than, as Scott said, the Goldwaters. It is different than the Reagans. It is different than the Bushes, both 1 and 2. This has been a seismic shift. And for whatever reason, and I'm sure eventually some really smart psychologists and psychiatrists will get together and write a book about the history of the Republican Party and what caused it to change the directions that it changed, and what caused it to become what it is today. And I truly am a firm believer. I've been saying this for a very long time. I think it has a lot to do with our entertainment. The things that we watch on TV, the reality show TV programs that aren't really reality at all. We wanted to believe them because that gave us a respite from maybe the life that we weren't living the American dream. The American dream was a lie. It was a complete lie. And we would turn to these kind of distractions and would see people actually having it worse off than us because it was scripted to be that way. And it made us feel better. It made us susceptible to conspiracy theories. A conspiracy theory is something bad's going on that nobody knows about, and goes through all the different machinations to become a conspiracy theory. And if I'm in the know, that means that I'm doing good. I'm doing better if I'm in the know. And again, it created this. And I don't know when we became like this, the exact moment. But we seem to be very, the American population seems to be very susceptible. So I would disagree with the emailer that it's in a shambles. It has become what it knew it needed to become. It filled a niche. It embraced conspiracy theories. It embraced the outlandish. It embraced the, yes, everybody's out to get you, the deep state, the cabal of blood drinking, pedophiles in a pizzeria in the basement. Oh, by the way, that doesn't have a basement, but that doesn't matter. None of that matters. It answers the question, or at least it touches upon the question of why your life is so bad. It goes back to, and I'm going to go back a long way on this. Why did like the Romans and the Greeks and the Nordic populations have gods? To explain things that they couldn't explain. Thor, the thunder god. If bad things happen, if there was a drought, if there was an earthquake, if there was this or that, it was a god doing it. It was a way for them to explain science that they at the time didn't understand. I think that this is a way for people to explain sociology, the social conditions of today that they can't figure out why is happening to them. Because we're an oh poor me. We're a society today. We are grieved. We are grieved at every turn we can look that we take. And I think I think the Republican Party looked at it and said, "Hey, there's an in. We got an in." And somebody basically created the Donald Trump. Maybe it was Donald Trump himself. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that there must have been a back room somewhere where they said, "Hey, we got the guy. Donald Trump's the guy." And then basically they lost control of him. As we're seeing today with the issue with the Epstein report. They've lost control of him. He basically took it over. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, they filled a niche. The Democrats, what can they do? Stop doing the same old stupid stuff. As Scott said, you're fighting the wrong battles, people. Yes, I am firmly in support of transgender, LGBTQ+, all of the, yes, let them live. They're not hurting anybody. They're not hurting anyone. But why are we making them the forefront of the conversation? Because, as Scott points out, they are a small percentage of the population. Do they deserve protection? Do they deserve their rights? Absolutely. I'm sorry. Yes, they do. And there's, I would say, a very, very small bunch of the evangelical right who say that they don't. And whenever you hear it on, Fox News about gay and lesbians and this and that and the other, and they shouldn't have this and that, they're just talking to that very small group. That big Fox viewership isn't all on board with that, but that keeps that very small group tuning into them. And if you ever listen to Fox, which I try not to do very often because it makes me nuts, you will see they change their narrative quite often on all sorts of different subjects because they're talking to all sorts of different groups, small groups, to get them to continually tune in. They're telling them what they want to hear. They don't care that that group over there didn't like hearing that because they're going to say something that group eventually will like. And they'll just keep tuning in. Unlike MSNBC, who every time you turn around is bashing on the Republicans for something. Regardless. I mean, it's just the opposite it's just the opposite side of the coin. Democrats get a platform and then get out there just like Ross Perot did. take a book out of Ross Perot, if they ever remembered him, where he would sit down with charts and would show them and would talk to them like 5-year-olds and explain to them, this is what this does. If this is the economy, this is the way this works. Do that. Put your money into things like that. Because it really did work. He was third party, and he got 20% of the vote. And he would have done better if he hadn't have dropped out 3 times in his first run because he got mad. Because that was just Ross Perot. He'd get pissed off about something stupid, and he'd drop out. I mean, there were people that actually thought during the vice presidential debate with Ross Perot, when his vice presidential candidate was the Iron Admiral, who basically came out and said, I don't even know why I'm here.
Admiral Stockdale, was it? Yeah.
Admiral Stockdale. God love the man. I mean, here's a man that was a POW. I mean, the Iron Admiral, a true hero. And he's sitting around going, what do? I do what my boss there, who's the president, tells me to do. That's what I do. There were people that actually thought he won that debate over Dan Quayle and, was it Al Gore?
Lloyd Benson?
No, was it Lloyd Benson?
No, you're right. Al Gore, I guess.
Al Gore. Yeah. So, I'm sitting there are people that thought he won. And every time he opened his mouth, it was almost laughable. But, God love him. He was out there giving it a shot.
Oh, when he had to ask them to repeat the question because he had turned his hearing aid off.
That's right.
And he was so tired of listening to the other two.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's back when politics was fun. But, I mean, you got to stop running the same old play and hope for a different result. What is that, Einstein's definition of insanity? Do the same thing over and over again and hope for a different result? You got to stop doing that. Stop fighting these culture war battles. Cut it out. They are a non-winner. People don't give a shit about the culture wars. If you don't mention LGBTQ and trans people, the average American doesn't even think about them because half of them never even come in contact with one. So they don't care. They really don't. When we're talking about trans athletes competing in sports, how many are we talking about here? 10?
A handful.
A handful. But we're going to make it a huge social issue that the fabric of the United States and the United States society and our civilization is coming to an end because 10 guys that used to be guys are now girls, competed in a girl sport and finished third. Really? This is the stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I sit back and I look at it, I say, don't do that stuff. Focus on policy. Focus on the things, what they used to call it, the kitchen table issues. Focus on them. And then you're going to have to explain it to the American population like you would a 5-year-old. And Einstein had another great saying. If you can't explain the problem to a 5-year-old, you don't understand the problem. You got to start understanding what the problem is. Not the problem you think it is. Not the problem that this one little group over here in your progressive group wants you to focus on. Progressive, yes, absolutely. But you don't have to focus on all these stupid little things. And it's not that they're stupid to certain people, but it is to the average American. They just don't care. And you're fighting a battle. What does this have to do with me? I mean, we here in my family, my wife and I, we have three sets of great friends. They're gay males. Never discussed. We don't discuss. They're just, Tommy and Steve, and that's all they are. That's it. Their sexual orientation never comes up. Never comes up. Because it's not important. And no, because I sit and talk to them does not mean I'm going to become gay. As some people will try to tell you that's what's going to happen. Oh, you're going to get it from the toilet seat or something. I don't know. But these are the things that Democrats have to get away from. Talk about progression. Tell them why this is good. Tell them why your policy is good for them. Make them understand it. And remember, you're talking to people who voted for Trump. So you have to talk to 5-year-olds. Now, they may not believe you because they're dumb 5-year-olds, but that's your best. To me, that's the best way to do it. Scott's looking at me like, wow.
Well, it's very good, man. But we should probably talk a little bit again about Musk, who, since he's come out with this idea that he wants to create a new political party,
right?
Let's face it, that's going to be a right-wing political party. That's going to be even further right than the Republican Party is today, and I'm not sure that America really wants a right-wing political party.
But he's promoting it as centrist.
Yeah, but I mean, his idea of centrist is like, what was it? The Germans for Germany party, and that he supported, or the American Nazi party here. I'm sorry, but when the when the Grok, his AI tool, started spitting out all kinds of anti-Semitic bullshit, I think he was exposed.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he fed Grok with his own personality and his own tweets over time, and Grok, assimilated all that and started speaking very xenophobic and anti-Semitic. So, yeah, I don't think that we really need that. AFD, by the way, right now in Germany is polling at like 23% in Germany. So, I just don't think. Even if he had Steve Bannon working with him and Peter Thiel and all these guys, they're guys who have a lot of really bad ideas for Americans, and they want to run America like a business. And I don't think citizens are gonna enjoy that very much. Anybody who's ever worked in a freaking cubicle understands how soul-sucking it is to be involved in a big corporation, and we don't want that for our everyday lives. Anybody who's escaped that from a corporation knows how liberating it is to get away from that. And I don't think that Musk's party is going to do much about anything, but it will be a very, very right-wing party.
But I also think we ought to keep an eye. I get emails from quite often. I don't know why. Keep an eye on the Forward Party. If there's an opening, maybe a party like, I agree. I don't think Musk's party is going to go very far. And yes, that was kind of a joke. I do understand that it's going to be far right, but he's claiming it's centrist. But things like the Forward Party, they're claiming to be centrist, and if you read some of the stuff that they've got out there, it definitely isn't progressive, but it sure as heck isn't far right. And I think that just like every other change in American society, it has to happen slowly. Scott, you said this once before, about 2 or 3 years ago. Progressives lose a lot of battles, but they eventually always win the war because we always progress. And that is a true statement. We may not progress as quickly as we like to, but as long as we take 2 steps forward and only 1 step back, it is still progress. And I think that's something that we have to understand, that is progress for us. So hopefully we answered that.
I just wanted to add that Musk definitely is not a centrist. He wanted to cut more from the budget, as far as I know. He didn't think that the big bill went far enough. He wanted more cuts for poor, more to go to the wealthy, as far as I know. So no, I don't think that, I'm not even sure that he will get anywhere with his party, and the only people that will affect will be people who really want a very far right party. And that, I mean, if he got anywhere with it, I think it would be very, very dangerous. But he was saying, well, he would focus the Congress rather than the presidency. Now, he already got his president, Trump. So who knows what will happen. Trump certainly has a lot more power than Musk does. Trump's got the government do quite a lot of damage to Musk's businesses. So I haven't really even thought much about Musk's party. Yeah, the Democrats really need to do something. I wish that somebody in my district here in Western New York, we don't even have any Democratic candidates and have not had for some time. There's
step up, Brooke. Step up. Huh? Step up.
Oh, no. Absolutely
Go to your local Democratic headquarters and say, I want to run for Congress.
Mm-mm. No,
you have a platform.
No, thank you. It's got to be somebody young who can speak publicly and so on and so forth. But there isn't anybody to vote for. So that's a problem. And I don't know if Democrats just don't think that anybody can win. The last person who tried was some years ago now.
Who's the congressman there now, or congressperson?
We've got a Nick Langsworthy or somebody. And the Senate, of course, we are Democrat, but we've got I think it's a Nick Langsworthy, and who's a Republican, and who follows in lockstep with Trump. In any event, thank you for the question, Alexis. I hope that we have answered it, and thank you for listening and for your support. Thank you to all our listeners for your support. If you're not yet subscribed on your platform, do please go ahead and subscribe. It is free. And we look forward to seeing you next time on the Nova Society.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of NovaWorks, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description.